is not land, sea, or air. It is space. Space is no longer the final frontier. It is the decisive frontier. Satellites guiding precision strikes, space-based surveillance tracking adversaries in real-time communication, networks immune to terrestrial jamming, GPS systems ensuring our mission hits targets within meters. India's space program has evolved from scientific curiosity to strategic necessity. And today, we explore how space technology is becoming the ultimate force multiplier for India's defense. Ladies and gentlemen, leading this transformation is a visionary institution that has united India's public and private space sectors under one mission: to make India a space power. For next, I would like to invite Lieutenant General A.K. Bhatt. Lieutenant General A.K. Bhatt is the founding Director General of the Indian Space Association. We call it SPA. In his 39-year military career, he served as Director General Military Operations during the 2017 Doklam face-off and commanded the prestigious Chinar course in Srinagar. He is a graduate of the Army Staff College, UK, and holds an MPhil in Defense and Strategic Studies. Beyond his space industry leadership, he was appointed by the President of India as Chairman of the Board of Governors for IIIT Kota and IIIT Ranchi. He is recipient of the Param Vishisht Seva Medal, Uttam Yuddha Seva Medal, and Ati Vishisht Seva Medal. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Lieutenant General A.K. Bhatt, Director General of Indian Space Association. General Bhatt, under your leadership, ISPA has become the voice of India's space ambitions, from satellite manufacturing to launch capabilities to defense application. Sir, the floor is all yours. Thank you so much.
Good morning and Jai Hind. It's a great honor to be here again today and to talk of space, how private space is primarily contributing to defense space, and where are we in India. I'll start with this very famous quote way back in 1957 given by Lyndon Johnson, who headed the Space Committee at that time in USA, and later, of course, became the president also. All space early developments, that is, at the end of World War II, till the Cold War was there, were all developments in the backdrop of the strategic rivalry which was between the two nations. It was more to do with ballistic missiles and not to use space as a domain of warfare as such. It is only much later that space started being seen for communication firstly, thereafter for ISR, and now, of course, it is a very important domain. Today we identify space as a separate domain of warfare as such. This is the man who sent the first rocket to space. He was picked up by the Americans under Operation Paperclip from Von Braun, along with his 100 scientists, is the one who took the American dream up till the moon. And of course, he was kept under the radar because of his SS connections. I always like to show this small video which talks of where technology has gone, and very importantly, technology by private company. This rocket is the size of Empire State Building, gentlemen. and see how perfectly it is being held by these two arms called the chopsticks. And it has been achieved by, not by any sovereign NASA or someone, but by a private company. And then see the precision of this rocket, as it is, rocket science, as we call it, is sending a rocket up. See this rocket coming down. The space in it which will, the size on which it can land. None of our aircrafts, of course, can land in that kind of space. So this is a disruption in technology which has totally changed the dimension of space and its usage in future. And the other thing is the size. Communication satellites from the size of GSAT 29 to the L-bit satellite, of course, the capacities are not comparable. But the issue is to see is miniaturization. And similar miniaturization in remote sensing. The Gaufin satellite, 2 rooms or bigger, and the Dove satellite, 200 plus of these, see the whole world 24/7. In India, the space environment has been entirely ISRO-led till Air Marshal Dharkar decided to open the DSA, where this was the first time when the defense forces were allowed to come into space in India. And this happened very recently in 2019. But ISRO, they have had, their achievements are very significant. We are all aware of it. I don't have to repeat it. We got self-reliance by accident. Atmanirbharta came in space a little earlier than anywhere because of the MTAR and other restrictions which the West put on us after the peaceful nuclear tests which had taken place. So we had no choice but to do it on our own, and ISRO did a grand job of it. Industry was never independently allowed to grow in India. It was just as a supplier of assemblies and components. But that has also helped. Today, the private company which is making a rocket, its 40 to 80 suppliers are all from the ecosystem created by ISRO over the years. But one thing, and I've faced it when I've been in service, ISRO has always told us, we are not for you, we are for the common man. Maybe whatever we do, if it is provided to the military, it is by accident. This is the in this, the breakthrough had to be achieved by Air Marshal Dharkar, later the other DGs, Pawan is here, and of course, the present DG DSA will also have to face that. So, this is a satellite, this is a slide I picked up from the ISRO chairman, where he said, ISRO-led space is now no more there. It has NSIL, which is a new space industry limited, basically a company which is the public face of ISRO. Then is InSpace, an organization made entirely to privatize space in India. Of course, the industry and startups and academia. There is where ISPA also came into being, primarily to be the unified voice of the private sector, contribute in building an innovation-driven resilient space ecosystem, develop capacities, and primarily be a support to the private players to grow in India. I am flashing these days that in India today, there are 350 startups which are claimed to be there, but the big companies are these, which I am flashing. These are our founding members. Just for your information, who are the ones out of the companies who are working in space? And the core members. But the and the associate members. Very important has been companies like TASL coming into space when Tata's was always distant from it, maybe a decade or before. Now they are actively there into the space domain. And then there is a large number of startups. I'll just flash to you, and some of them would be sitting here maybe. These are our lead startups in various domains. Agnikul and Skyroot are young men who are making rockets. They've had their pre-orbital launches, and the orbital launch is going to take place hopefully in Q1 itself by Skyroot, and Agnikul somewhere later in the year. And what is unique about them is their rocket is far, far different. The design of the rocket, the components of the rocket are very different. And their 90% supplies are from India. At least Skyroot, what I know of. And Agnikul also, of course, they are making the whole engine by 3D printing, and that is also being done in India. Galaxy is a company which will be another month would be launching a satellite, and they are in a new domain, unique domain of fusing electro-optical and SAR sensor in one. If that gets successful, it will be again a disruption in technology in the world. Pixel, of course, is into hyperspectral, into the hyperspectral domain, and they have already launched more than 5 satellites. Dhruva works on the entire full stack into all capabilities, and Digantara is a company small. These young men, none of them IITians, from small towns of India, today lead the SSA domain for us. They've already got one of their satellites up in space, and their capabilities are developing very soon. And of course, they're not limited to India. Today, they have opened a company in America. They have done a tie-up in Singapore, and they would be quite a bit of it would be used by the DSA. What is coming up just this year? Launch of Skyroot, launch of Ajista and Agnikul, 2 rocket companies, 1 satellite company, Ajista, then Galaxy, which will be launching very soon, and ISRO, of course, has number of multiple launches which will take place. In the military domain, what has happened? One is, of course, the formation of the DSA, which is they are our nodal agency, and for everything which is done in defense in India, it is the DSA which is responsible for it. Now, just putting military space, the ones I have put it in color, ISR, communication, PNT, MET, ballistic missile defense are all known to you. But the new ones are marine domain awareness, space situational awareness, and in future, space warfare. And before that comes space deterrence, of course. I'm not going into what all you have, but a little new things which are coming into this is, in ISR, the sensors from electro-optical have become hyperspectral, they have become SAR, and SAR is in fact the order of the day, which has the capability of seeing 24/7. The revisit times today have become much lesser and lesser, and what the armed forces require is persistent ISR, meaning 24/7 ISR of every point of interest which they have. Resolution and accuracy have also evolved from 70 centimeters to 50 centimeters to 30 centimeters, while the military requirement may be at 10 centimeters. Launch on demand is a new domain, which is also called responsive launch, meaning the capability to be able to launch satellites for an area of interest. Of course, it's very complicated in the sense it can't be one satellite. If you have to put one pointed focus, at least you'll have to have 7 to 8 satellites because of the speed at which they would be going in the LEO domain. But it is a capability which would be required for focused areas if it is required, and in future definitely the Indian Armed Forces will work towards it. Communication also has moved from GEO to LEO, and this has again been led by private sector, by Starlink, by OneWeb, which is now called Eutelsat OneWeb, and the third company is Kuiper, which is called Amazon LEO now, who are going to have constellations into space, providing services all over the world. 2 of these companies have been given licenses for operating in India and would be operating very soon. What we know about our defense forces is they are planning to look at a constellation of a combination of GEO, MEO and LEO. More of it, I think, would be spoken of when there's a discussion. In PNT, of course, navigation, missile guidance, logistics, all requires it, and NAVIC is the backbone of it. And in future, LEO PNT is what is being talked of. This is what we have today. Our numbers are around 50. ISR maybe 10 to 12 satellites, some satellites for communication, but it is a limited range of, what I'm showing you is from the open domain. Just to flash to you what does an electro-optical satellite image looks like. This is from Planet and Maxar. This is a 30 centimeter resolution with an accuracy of 1.5. This is how it looks. And what is most important is these two. Maxar on the right is a EO, while on the left is a SAR. So a SAR image by nature is counterintuitive. It cannot be read by a normal human being. And machines are also finding it challenging at the moment. But the issue is it can provide you much more information because it can see through clouds, it can see in bad weather and at night. This is of course the famous one from Ukraine war. My aim to flash this slide is all of us who are sitting here and deal in matters military have to be very clear that ISR now nearly provides total visibility of yours to the adversary and to you of the adversary. Warfares have now in future to be fought with that in back of the mind. And this is a new domain. This is a satellite using a heat signature. And this aircraft, I am not sure, it is showing an aircraft which is switching on to take off, or there was an aircraft which has taken off and the signature is there. It can be both. This is a very recent one from Ukraine, where to confuse the SAR image, they have put tires on the top of an aircraft which is there, because the reflection will be reflected in a manner that the image of SAR will not be very clear. In Operation Sindoor, these were our capabilities, but what we definitely found was we had a major dependence on commercial satellites. And of course, SBS-3, which had been started before, hopefully will come in a faster fashion. What is SBS-3 is 52 satellites being made for ISR for the defense forces. PNT, we have a weakness as on today in our NAVIC system. And what I emphatically want to say is NAVIC was not very effective, is not very effective presently on an Operation Sindoor, because of the number of satellites which are there, and most importantly because Indian industry has not been able to build receivers for that anywhere. Communication, of course, it was far better, and I think the defense forces were happy with what came. Mine is all inputs from open source, please. This is what SBS looks like, the cost, the number of satellites. But what is most important in this is the leap of faith the government has taken. 31 satellites being manufactured by 3 private consortiums. There is a very big pressure on the private sector to live up to the expectations of the nation, but I'm very sure they will be able to do it. In this, my only observation is, and I've been repeating again, the user interface is hardly there, which has to be much more aggressively there from the defense forces to that we exactly get what we want. Maybe I'm not aware, and it is being done in a more detail. I'll apologize if that is the case. Chinese capabilities, I just want to tell you is, this is a comparison we have done of what was the launch frequency, which was the payload mass, which was the deployed payload and active satellites 2 years back. It is not to alarm you, but just to get you a sense of where they are. And their capability otherwise, the aim is to surpass the USA, to have a less than 10 minutes revisit time, which they have nearly achieved. In Sindoor, it was around 20 minutes. The global CPS, they have achieved it. And our adversary on the West also is effectively using the GPS provided by China. They have a large number of satellites. In communication, of course, they are moving a little slow and have not been able to achieve what they wanted to. This is one very major step taken by, pushed by the DGDS's office, and this has winners from most of the startups which are there in India. It has given a huge impetus to the private industry, firstly, to understand what do the defense forces require, and also work towards very intimately with the defense forces. It's a compliment to the DGDS's office and the MOD, the way they keep this very intimate interaction for things to move forward. The challenges which are there are into all domains, from launch systems to communication systems and payloads, satellite systems, ground stations, and software systems. There's a huge list of them. I'm not going through this. This is just to inform you some of the reports which ISPA has taken out in recent times. And every year we have a defense space symposium. This year it is on 23rd to 24th April. Definitely we look forward to see a large number of you there. I finish here. And my thanks to BDTS and most importantly to Air Marshal Dharkar, my friend Mohit Gupta, and Major General Ashok Dhingra. Thank you for giving us an opportunity to be able to share our views. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much. Sir, I want you to stay here for a little longer for the felicitation. I request Ashok, sir. Thank you. Thank you, General Bhatt, for that visionary roadmap. Space infrastructure, space awareness, space dominance. These are no longer aspirations. They are imperatives. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for the gentleman here. And now, we operationalize this vision through a panel of leaders who are building India's space defense ecosystem, from policy to technology to operational deployment. Chairing this session is a legend in India's space defense journey. He was the first Director General of the Defense Space Agency, the institution that formalized space as a warfare domain for India. Please welcome Air Marshal Sujit P. Dharkar. Air Marshal Sujit P. Dharkar is a veteran fighter pilot and former Vice Chief of the Air Staff. He holds the distinction of being the first Director General of the Defense Space Agency. With over 3,600 flying hours, he commanded Frontline Squadron and served as AOC in the Eastern Air Command. An alumnus of the U.S. Air War College, he is a recipient of the Param Vishishta Seva Medal, Ati Vishishta Seva Medal, and Uttam Yuddha Seva Medal. Joining Air Marshal Dharkar on this distinguished panel, we have Air Vice Marshal Paramjit Singh Malhi. He is currently the Principal Advisor at Tata Advanced System Limited.